Oh shit, what's going on here? Am I live? Oh shoot, if I'm live. Sorry. Hi everyone. I've got lots of things on my end telling me that we're not live or we are live, but I'll start the countdown and I'll see you in a second. Hey everyone, welcome to the Vegan Stew. I'm completely discombobulated because we take a week off and I choose the wrong countdown, then I put it's the right countdown, then I chose the wrong countdown, and here we are a minute into the show. And hi, I'm Helene, and welcome to the Vegan Stew. And it's pretty exciting. It's a new month. It's March, and got Coach Kayla for her first show with the stew. So super excited about that. You'll remember Coach Kayla did her show on the first Wednesday of the month when we were taking our break, and now she's just doing this and keeping really busy. So if you like to win prizes, you want to go to virtualvegfestlive.com. You want to hit the contest tab. You can win one of 12 prizes this month. One of which is from our new sponsor for March, which is Bitchin' Sauce. Bitchin' Sauce is super awesome cool. The emails they send me are amazing, and they're just sending us Bitchin' Sauce all over the place. Yeah, we are definitely not on Facebook tonight. We are only on YouTube right now. Okay, well, what are we gonna do? Hopefully, people, if like Marla, if you go put out there on that they have to go to YouTube to watch, send that into the social media world because otherwise no one's seeing us. Yeah, because we are definitely. I don't know why that happened. Looks like the broadcast was deleted on Facebook. Yeah, that's awesome. All right, so that's fine. They can watch it on YouTube. So thanks to Bitchin' Sauce for sponsoring. And if you want to win prizes, you can win prize packs from Terra Seed, Hodo Foods, Veg Key, Cinnaholic, Fabulous, Bernie Wilds, Kathy Hester, Trupo Cheats, BV Kids, Total Body Lab, Dojo Fresh, and Bitchin' Sauce. That's 12 prizes that you can win. So enter and try to win. Let's see. It's really weird. I don't know what to do. Let me bring everybody in. So we got Sovereign. If you have any questions or comments, make sure to put them into the little comment thing. And I don't know what happened. Sometimes it does that, and technical stuff decides to not be our friend. And I'm just gonna go kind of take a look to make sure, because sometimes it says it's not doing something and it really is doing something. And I'm just going to go look while we're doing this. So while I'm doing that, so Coach Kayla, what we do when it's your first show is
Mhm.
we share with everyone why we're vegan. And then we never really talk about that ever again. Because you
Okay.
know what? That's not what we are. And it's just something that we've done. So we just kind of let people know why or how or what. And then,
Yeah.
you may reference it, but really you don't need to ask us again. So you can share
Yeah.
your story while I see if this is all
Okay.
messed up.
All right. Sounds good. So, hi, everyone. Yes, like Lean mentioned, I did have my show last year here in Virtual Veg Fest, which was awesome. And why am I vegan? So, I really started vegan more eating plant based as a dietitian. I really wanted to learn about healthier eating. I wanted to fuel my body right. I wanted to practice what I preach, right? All of that stuff. And so it really came from wanting to eat more fruits and vegetables because that is what I was studying and all the research was saying of, this is how we prevent chronic diseases is by eating more whole foods, eating more fruits and vegetables. So that's kind of how it started. I did watch a couple documentaries as well talking about the factory farms and how our animals were treated, and all that really kind of turned me off of really not wanting to eat meat anymore. So I kind of went from pescatarian, vegetarian to all of a sudden full vegan, and just, I don't know how that happened, but it just kind of happened. And so the last probably 7-8 years I've been vegan. And one of my specialties as a dietitian is really helping people to fuel their bodies, being vegan, especially as athletes. I also have a history of running and being involved in sports. So kind of all that kind of made me interested too in how do we fuel our bodies properly by, if we are vegan, and how can we do it, and can we do it? Because there's also so many myths out there that, we're damaging our bodies or we're doing more harm than good. But the way I look at it, and the more I've learned about veganism, is, there's so many benefits of helping the environment, and, less animals being killed and all of that. To me, it is worth it. And it's definitely something we can do. So, yes, that's kind of why I'm vegan.
That's awesome. And of course, it's like the one night that we are just not on Facebook. All of them have decided that, here's,
no.
okay, 668-778. Let me get, I think that's Shayla in here. So she can be in here with nobody else. So we can just talk to the YouTube people so they know too. It's not, my computer's not working. That's awesome.
We'll have our own little party.
We're gonna have our own little party.
Yeah.
It's a great party. And I mean, I already fucked up the start, so
What's going on with Facebook?
I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
It just, StreamYard it says it canceled all our live shows. So, and
you've been canceled.
You're pretty much, we've been canceled tonight. So she'll be here in a second. And do we have any news? Anything happened over the last 2 weeks?
We hadn't really talked about anything, but the one thing I'm kind of keeping my eye on is I think it's not been reported on much yet, but I believe it's China that has now banned beef temporarily from Brazil because there's been a finding of bovine spongiform encephalopathy, aka mad cow disease, in some of the beef. So as we know, that's one of those diseases that's transmissible to humans, and is very concerning. And it's just apparently one case so far, but who knows? But I'm kind of keeping my eye on what news is coming up about that.
Well, a little fun fact there: Stephen can't donate blood because
when was he in the UK?
Because he lived in the UK, lived in Scotland during the time with the mad cow disease. So he's unable to donate blood, which sucks. Yeah. Hey, Dr. Sheila. We had some weirdness tonight because we're only streaming to YouTube because Facebook decided to just cancel all our shows. So if you post about it, so no, you usually take a picture and post it, send them to YouTube. Virtual Veg Fest on YouTube or Vegan Stew on YouTube, and they can watch us there. So, and I can post this after we're done, so we'll get the views afterwards. Oh, there's Kayla Stew. Okay.
Got it.
Yeah, that's it. I hadn't heard anything about mad cow disease in Brazil.
Yeah, it just popped up somewhere in. It's not even. It's really not being reported on much yet, and I think people are, let's hope just getting there about it. But Dr. Shayla, I was mentioning that there's been that China has banned beef from Brazil because there was a finding of bovine spongiform encephalopathy, aka mad cow disease, in some of the and we know that's transmissible and deadly to people. Right. We don't know where that's going to go, but I'm kind of keeping my eye out for new stories about that.
That is interesting. So I haven't heard about this. So you're saying they banned it all together from the entire country?
Yeah, I mean, just like temporarily, Yeah. So the news so far has been very sketchy and just kind of vague, but that's my understanding. You know.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Any other news?
It will be interesting to see where that
Yeah.
goes. I know our Americans that will probably start a whole riot. You start taking all the cows away.
They'll want to eat it anyway.
That
They
No,
will.
don't take that
Yeah,
away. I don't
right.
care.
I'm gonna die some way. Yeah.
No, I
Right,
won't get it.
exactly.
No, it's not real. I'm sorry, but it's not real. Because if everything else isn't real, then mad cow disease mustn't
Right.
be real. Because
Well,
you don't really know anyone who died from it. So how could it be
Right.
real?
I do.
yeah,
Well,
exactly.
possibly.
Possibly.
I do have actually, I don't know how much if I should even tell this to people, but I do have a nursing home resident
Mhm.
that has that
Has
and,
what?
Really? Mad
and
cow
is
disease.
not doing well.
Recently acquired?
Yes, yeah. I guess they go really downhill really fast, so they put them in a
Yeah,
nursing home.
it literally bores holes in
It's
your
young.
brain. Yeah. Oh my God. So this was recently discovered. Wow.
Yeah, not very long. A couple weeks in
Okay.
hospital, and then they transferred him to a nursing home, and now he's on a nursing full liquid diet,
Wow.
so he can't even eat.
Well, that was, I
solid
think, the
food.
thing during. I thought that it was
Awful.
only identifiable after an autopsy, but that was in the 90s. I don't know.
Right. Yeah. It
Okay.
previously was
Yeah, I don't
only, yeah,
know.
because I had a patient once when I did hospital medicine to who we suspected it, but you're right, we weren't able
Right.
to confirm it until after death.
Right. And if I recall correctly, in the 90s, there was speculation that a lot of people who were sort of age where they might they might be showing signs of dementia and a quick,
Mhm.
but it was like how many people got lumped in with, oh, it's Alzheimer's when it was actually mad cow.
Right. Mhm.
Right.
Oh, Creutzfeldt-Jakob disease, I believe it's in the
Yeah.
human form.
Yes.
Isn't that
Well,
Jewish
we are a
disease?
barrel of laughs tonight. I am 100% sure I'm not going to die of this, though.
So it might be something, but it won't be that, huh?
We have good odds. So I'm going to go back to this person. How old are they?
My patient that I
Yeah.
have, 52, I believe.
That's not okay.
That's
Yeah.
terrible.
That's not
It's
nursing
very
home
sad.
age.
Very sad.
Now, there are other
Mhm.
diseases of the brain that can start young. Like there is like a thing like early onset Alzheimer's, but I know that the symptoms
Right.
of Creutzfeldt-Jakob disease and
Mhm.
they're different. But my mother had something called Lewy body dementia, which can show up. That's what Robin Williams had. It can show up
Yes. Yeah.
younger. So yeah, there's a lot of things that can.
Mhm.
Right. Even stroke, I mean, depending on which part of the brain that's affected can too.
Yeah.
That's true. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's I knew I had a feeling the person was going to be younger, but so so it really ties in. I'm so glad that you're here. So because how much meat is in our country from Brazil?
Well, beef, that's a huge not
Import.
importer. Yeah, import.
Yeah.
Yeah. To all over the world, Brazil, and the reason why vegans are being accused of by ignorant people of destroying the rainforest for soy is a lot of times it's grown. Amazonian soy grown in the Amazon is primarily grown almost always for the beef industry, but so is the Amazon is destroyed for cattle grazing too. But yeah.
No, that's you want to know if they can trace back the food that he ate to know, because I mean, did he share it with somebody? Is he the only one? I have so many
I think it
questions.
has a very. There's still a lot that we probably don't know about this disease, but I think it has a very long gestation period where
Mhm.
it could have been
Yeah,
years.
it's typically hard to trace, like, to, to say, "Up, when I eat this hamburger," for instance,
Right,
that's when that's developed, kind of thing. That's typically hard to pin down.
right.
Wow.
Yeah, and it
Wow.
can be
Hmm.
dormant in a person for decades, apparently,
Mhm.
or like at least years.
Mm.
Um, so, and as
So,
you know, hamburgers are made of dozens and dozens of, well,
Right, that too.
yeah, so.
yeah.
Mhm,
So I don't know about you, but I'm even more thankful to be vegan
mhm.
at this moment in time.
Yeah.
Every
Sure.
day, every day.
That's that's awful. Well, Kayla, good for you for taking care of this person and everyone else you take care of, because
Thanks.
that must be very, very difficult, because
Yeah.
he's not that much older than you. I know you're younger,
Right.
but he's not old enough
Right.
to.
He's not old
He's not
enough to be
old.
end of life.
Right, exactly. And it just endings. I'm never a fan of endings. So on a happier note, our topic tonight is
Much more dark than that.
we have, but a happier note is our topic tonight, and thankfully we have at least one athlete on the panel. Is that is being vegan? Being vegan help you as an athlete? Are there benefits to being
Mhm.
vegan and being an athlete? And to start it off, the energy that you have from not eating foods that weigh you down, the foods that are lighter for you to consume if you're eating somewhat healthy. I mean, you can eat a crappy plant-based stuff. Well, it's not, I wouldn't even call it plant-based, a crappy vegan diet, and be worn out and tired all the time because you're not eating well. But if you eat a well-balanced diet of foods that are whole food, plant-based, and you mix it in, you just eat well, it's amazing how much energy you have to do all the things that we want to do over the course of our day or lives or weeks or months. And then if you throw in exercise, well, as someone who has had speakers come that are athletes, Katya has been on here as a power lifter, and Tori Washington and Corinne Sutton and Badass Vegan and Daniel Austin, the vegan meathead. They're all vegan athletes. And you should look them up, because go look at some of their bodies. I tried to convince them to take their shirts off when they came to speak, but they wouldn't do it. But they are ripped. And like someone like Tori has been vegan since childhood. He's never eaten meat, from what I understand. He's got a waist like this big and shoulders like this big, So, and then they're doing that on vegan. And Robert Cheek, I mean, you can go on, right? And Robert Cheek is not a high protein athlete,
Mm.
right? So they all infight about the protein thing. I need all this protein because I'm an athlete. And then you've got Robert, who went and took, we've spoken about Robert before. We got in taking Dr. Campbell's course and said, I don't need all this protein. I can still have all these muscles, which he does. So I'm just going to throw it. Kayla, you're not just an athlete, but you're a marathon runner. You've worked through injury, and you have your own story, so you tell it.
Sure. Yeah. So thank you. Yeah, I have I've been a marathon runner I've been a runner for a very long time, probably 10, 13 years, going through my first actually stress fracture. And it's interesting, from being vegan for the last 8 years and studying, my diet and nutrition and what is the best diet to really fuel my body correctly. And then here we are, dealing with the first stress fracture that I've ever had. And, of course, the first thought is, even as much as information as I know, even as a dietitian, is, am I doing more harm? Because I have this stress fracture. Like, have I been fueling enough? Have I been doing all the right things? that I think I've been doing, that I preach about and I tell people about and promote all the time. And really, I think the really thing that I think I've really found is, like, after I did a DEXA scan, my bone health is fantastic. And I think that's one of the things that a lot of people will be nervous about, going vegan, is for, worried about their bone health. So, for me, that was a good thing. So I was like, okay, my bones are okay. It's not that. And the more I kind of looked into it, it's like, it could have just been training. It could be, some, just not feeling, it could be somewhat not feeling enough, which is what I work with athletes a lot, and making sure we're just eating enough. It's not that we can't do it, but yes, it does make it more challenging. But I always see that if we can do it, I think the risks or the outcomes or what's positive and the benefits really do outweigh what's negative. And I mean, I have been running a long time, for 10 years, I think, to never get a stress fracture is
That's amazing.
pretty good, right? And it really was just, I was just really pushing myself, trying to qualify for Boston, really trying to, do life and try to eat like an athlete. And it can be very challenging. So that's kind of, a little bit of the story around that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I'm excited that we're having this topic today. My own story, I started as I was not a lifelong runner like Kayla. I was not a runner at all, would not run around a block until I had my first kid, and I started consuming more and going more towards a plant-based type of diet, and started with the Couch to 5K, did my first 5K, got bitten by the running bug, did half marathons, several marathons. And then I said, okay, I need a new challenge. I was fully plant-based by this time. So I need a new challenge. So I'm going to do triathlon because, one sport wasn't enough. So let's do 3.
That's where I am.
Right,
I'm injured. I can't run anymore. Okay, let's try triathlon.
It also forces you to cross train. I don't know about Kayla, but one of the things when I was running marathons, you really wouldn't do anything else. And so, that can lead to injury just because you're not doing a lot of cross training there too. But triathlon forces you to, because you're doing the 3 sports. And so, and I did my first full Ironman in 2016 while I was pregnant with my youngest. Fueled by plants.
Okay, I'm leaving this call now. I can't.
And completed Ironman Texas in 2019 for Ironman. They're all fueled on plants. So we definitely can do some amazing, powerful things with plants. Like I said, I was not a lifelong athlete or anything of that nature. I was a mom who decided I wanted to go run one day and work my way up. And the plants definitely helped. They helped with recovery. I recall, being able to fuel to the next workout each time, and just feeling energized and empowered to do that. Even my triathlon coach, he's also plant-based too. And he's not only a several time Ironman finisher, but he's also a Kona, which is like the championship of Ironman's finisher. And this is on plants. So people are doing amazing things on plants. You definitely aren't deficient or, not able to do these things because you're plant-based.
Interesting, Kona. So, Marla, you're really going to feel out of place now.
Well,
because I've completed a marathon as well. But I walked it. And what I did is, when I lived in California, there's a program called Train to End Stroke. So through the American Stroke Association. So they train you to, it's like a couch to 5K, but it's a couch to a half or a full for the most part. And they train you on how to get your miles in and eat and do, it's all encompassing. This is Train to End Stroke. So you want to end strokes. And one of the ways to do that is, eat healthy and exercise. So my dad died from complications from strokes and from heart disease. So I had a personal connection to it. And what you did is you fundraised, and that money went towards your ability to get to Hawaii, is where we did the marathon, and Kona, where they do the triathlon. The course was where I walked my full marathon. So it was.
How long did it take you?
The picture is actually, the finishing picture is actually downstairs in our bedroom. It's one of, I guess, one of my proudest moments and one of the most difficult things I've ever done, because it took me over 8.5 hours of walking on hot lava in 85-degree temperatures and humidity. And yes, and you know, when there's people, you're doing this marathon thing, you see the people get to the half turnaround, and they like went around this cute little cone, and they were like, they go around the cone, and they're like, oh, I'm halfway done. And I just like looked at them like, I hate you. I absolutely hate you in this moment, because when I got to my half, they gave me a chunk of ice. No joke. They were handing out ice, a chunk of ice, and I put it into my sports bra, and I couldn't feel it. That's how warm it was. And when I got down to about 4 miles left, which 4 miles, if you do 15-minute miles, only an hour, right? It's not so bad if you think about it, if you're only doing 4 miles. But 4 miles, I had to go to the bathroom.
Oh, no.
And it was down like a little hill. And then I said, yeah, Kayla, you see it. I sat down on the toilet, and I was like, hey, Steven. And I was like, I can't get up.
Frozen.
So I got help, and I got help up the little hill. And then I just said, I'm just going to power through this. And I just put mean face on and just power through. And I had cramps in both my calves and both my thighs as I finished. And one other story from it was about, I don't know, probably mile marker 18. You know, this is 26.2. I stopped because they have the little stations, and I stopped, and there was a girl in tears with her leg up because she couldn't finish. And I was done. I was like, I'm good. I've gone 18 miles. I'm good. And I looked at her, and she was in tears because she couldn't finish. And I looked at her, and I said, because you can't, I will. And it made her feel better. And the woman was like, see, you helped her like do this. Yeah. So I kept going, and I could not walk afterwards. I was in a wheelchair. But
I would say endurance events. Yeah, they do. They give you these just life memories and lessons, you know, that you take.
They do. It's like, wow, I did that.
Right. Tears. And I said, I'm never doing this again. I'm never doing this again. So I went and I volunteered to fill bags for another marathon in Sacramento. And I happened to be at the point of the table with the flyers for the Train to End Stroke. And at first and it was about a couple of hours I did this. At first I wouldn't even look at them. I was just putting them in the bags and passing. And then I started reading it again. And I was like, no. And then I said, well, you know, there's like each half hour. I was like, well, you could do a half, right? Half, those people were happy. It was a half. I was like, you could do a half. And then like the next half hour, I said, you know what? If I'm going to do this, I'm going to be like a leader. I'm going to like help people do this, and I'm going to do better at fundraising, and I'm going and then when I was like, okay, I'm going to sign up, and I'm going to do the half, and I'm going to be a team manager, and I'm going to do better at fundraising. And I did sign up again, which is out of control. But I got into a car accident, and I wasn't able to do the official marathon. However, in training, I did a half. So before I got hurt, and that's much easier. Highly recommend.
Half is easier than a whole. Okay. Good.
So what it sounds like is we need to get the Vegan Stew Marathon team together.
Yes.
We can get Carla through her first marathon. You're gonna be on this team, Marla.
Well, okay, so honestly, I do not enjoy running, and I'm a faster walker than I'm a runner. If that
I walked.
yeah. But so I do walk a lot, and I try to hit like 10,000 steps a day when it's not freezing cold. And I've done yoga every day without interruption for 3 years. So it's not like because I'm not running, I'm not exercise. Exercise
No.
is important, you know, it's really important to our mental health and our overall well-being, you know. And hey, Evan. But my family, like my parents,
Got more members
thought,
for our vegan stew marathon team here.
yeah.
Yay!
I'm gonna be raising money for Cotton Branch.
My parents both aged really rapidly starting in their 50s, you know, if not before, you know. So
Yep.
it's not something I want in, you know. I feel like a lot of it is avoidable, you know. I mean, life hands you stuff sometimes that you don't know why, or you don't, you know, but you try to control the stuff that you can, you know, and make it as good a likelihood as possible that you'll be well, you know. So
Marla, when was your mom born? What year?
1943.
Okay, so my mom was born in 1936. So not too far apart. When she turned like 50,
Yeah.
suddenly it was, I need to take home the breadsticks from the diner.
Yeah.
I need to do like old people things.
Yeah.
And like I'm gonna just sit at home and be old now.
Yeah. I think that
And
there's so much from society about women starting to disappear as when they're older too. That's part of that as well. It's not just, do you know what I mean? Like, I think that there's many factors, but I also think the parents of our generation, they just kind of like, I'm 56. I feel young and youthful and vibrant. I have no problems getting around in the world, but my parents at this age were a different story. And I think a lot of it is the story, you know, I'm of like, oh, I'm an old person. Oh, you know, and I think women especially are, you know, they're treated like, okay, it's time for you to just go away, old biddy, you know?
that's crazy talk now. Now, this generation. I mean, you're also talking to someone whose parents didn't live out of their 50s. So my
Yeah.
mom died when she was 54, 55. My dad died when he was 59.
Mhm.
So
My dad too.
I'm just happy that my siblings have outlived my parents.
Yeah.
I've yet to do that. It's my turn to get there.
Yeah.
So, but you don't know when you have when also going to the women thing, hysterectomies.
Mhm.
Back
Oh,
when my mom was late 40s, any sign of menopause, they just went and ripped everything out.
no.
Now they're like, no, you
Ugh.
just deal. You just go through it.
Yeah.
You know,
Here's
so
like someone like me. I didn't have one single hot flash. I mean, and I'm not saying that veganism,
don't
you
go
know,
there.
created that. I'm not saying that at all.
I think I'm having one right now.
I brought it on. No, but
It's all red.
I have many friends who are longtime vegans who struggle mightily with it. I don't think my mom did, and I didn't. So, but like if I were a certain age and had this or that complaint, yank it out, you know.
Yep. Yeah, Dr.
Yeah.
Shayla can attest to the fact they don't do that anymore.
No, not routinely like that.
Nope.
Right.
You've got to have like major stuff going on
Mhm.
for them to.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's. I mean, I remember when my mom had her hysterectomy, and it's fun. These are the things that you remember because I remember it was probably one of the only times that I saw my parents kiss.
Mm-hmm.
Right? It's some weird stuff that you
No,
remember.
I'm the same with you. My parents
Yeah.
once.
Yes, right. I mean, obviously they must have because the 4 kids. So, or maybe they didn't. So it is based on the word hysteria and need to rename it. I don't know, Evan. I think I don't care. Women can be hysterical, and it's not necessarily a bad thing. It's probably because men make us that way. Not my man.
I
But just
remember that though during the OJ trial that Marsha Clark was referred to as hysterical at one point about something, and she was trying to make, like, I think if we relitigated that whole thing, but like I remember her trying to assert that term is sexist. Because she was showing emotion as though like
Yeah.
none of them
Well, if
did.
you
But
look, talk about old practices of medicine. Hysteria was in the DSM. Where it was a diagnosis that women were routinely given and thought that they needed a treatment, for their hysteria.
Thank you,
Right? Yeah,
Wow.
it's an emotion.
Kayla's like, it's not in my DSM now.
No, it certainly shouldn't.
No.
Yeah, no.
That's
well,
so-
and it's like, I
Crazy.
mean, this is getting far afield from the topic, but like the idea that Trump, with all of his, absolutely chaotic behavior, he would never be referred to as hysterical. It's just the domain of a woman, and that we're so much more comfortable with men being emotional, but we just call it passionate, even though it's like violent rage or anger. It's like, okay.
He met some other DSM criteria there, though, Marla.
Mhm.
It's a different show.
He's not an athlete.
But
Not
it is
even-
interesting, though, like it is interesting to look at ourselves, at what we can recollect about our parents at our current ages, and just kind of compare things and just like, what were they struggling with, how were it is an interesting thing.
Well, oddly enough, after the
Mhm.
hysterectomy, my mom started walking
Oh,
and
that's
she
good.
lost weight.
Mhm.
And if my dad was still alive, that means I was younger than 18, and he died not too long after that, I'm pretty sure. And she got healthier until she got diagnosed with lung cancer and died a year later. So I think the moral of the story is exercise is something you need to start now if you haven't.
Mhm.
And I don't care what age you are. You need to have it in your routine because it will help you fight off aging.
And just feel happier, right? Feel more
Mhm. Feel
fulfilled.
good hormones.
Yeah.
Right.
And that it can look like many different things, right?
Mhm.
Like it
Exactly.
can be daily walks, it
Yeah.
can be yoga, it can be running, it can be hula hooping, it can
Dancing,
be
tennis,
Well,
whatever it is really that you
Exactly.
enjoy doing, then you're more likely
Right.
to stick with it. So.
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly. And I think we
Yeah.
just kind of undervalue how important fun is in general. And so like I think if we can have fun doing it, that's like
Yeah.
such a good
Yeah, that's true. I'm a Peloton fan now too, and one of the things, Kayla, I don't know if you've done it, but
Surviving my injury is Peloton.
yeah, the Lane Break. They started this thing called Lane Break, where it's like a gaming function of
I don't know
Peloton.
about this.
Yeah, and so instead of just doing the instructor workouts, you play like a video game while you're riding the bike. And so when I first did it, I said, I'm not a video game player. I'm gonna just check this thing out, do like a quick 15-minute thing just to check it out. And then there I
Yeah.
was doing like the third 15 minutes after that. Like, oh, this is really fun. See
That's
if I
the
can
kind of
get
exercise
more
that
points,
can
see if I can get more points this time around on it. Yeah, so it is, fun definitely helps.
Tell us what this is. It's called Telethon.
It's the Peloton bike.
Peloton.
Yeah, and
really.
then so they have a thing on there called Lane Break that they
Yeah.
started. And so it's just a different way of riding the bike where it's like a gaming function instead of just like your typical spin class kind of course.
Mhm.
And so you're like riding and you're like collecting these little coins, you're making the
Wow.
resistance go up and down to collect more coins. And so then you get you scored 20,000 points by the end, and so then you've got this thing in your mind like, oh, let me see if I can break that score kind of
Pedal faster.
right.
And
That's really cool.
Peloton bikes
Cool.
you can rent those, right? You don't have to buy them
Yeah, now.
outright.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they do have a
yeah.
rental program. Mhm.
Yeah, yeah. And I actually just use the Peloton app. So I set up my own
Yeah,
bike
the app is
Oh, I
trainer,
see. That
and then
makes
I use the Peloton app. Yeah.
So it transfers fine. You just need a bike with the same
Mhm.
functions and that sort of.
Mhm.
Yeah, and it depends. Some people just
Mhm.
you can even just use your,
Yeah.
any bike, but if you have
Yeah.
they do have like Bluetooth capability that you can connect the app to it if you want even more functionality while using it.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Awesome.
Yeah, my treadmill has iFit, which is very similar to the Peloton
Mhm.
fitness part of it. And the iFit has it so that I can walk in Africa if I so choose. And it shows the pictures of you walking
Wow.
through that piece of wherever you are.
Mhm.
I mean, I've done all over the world. Oddly enough, I walk my neighborhood and it shows me and it does the elevations. My neighborhood is far from flat and it takes me through the path that I would actually physically walk when it's too cold outside
Right.
to walk.
That's awesome.
It
That's
is
cool.
really, really, it
And
is
you don't have to
very
see
cool.
anyone who annoys you.
You don't have to
Yeah.
deal with the elements. I mean, the dogs miss out,
Right.
that they can't, they're not there
Yeah,
with
they have
me.
some indoor
But
cycling apps too, similar to that. Yeah, even I don't know if Kayla for triathlon training, you can like ride some of
Yeah.
the Ironman courses using the app on your
Oh,
bike trainer
cool.
indoors. Yeah, and it
Oh,
simulates
wow.
the elevation up and down and the course.
Yeah.
because that's what you want, because
Very
then
cool.
Mhm.
you're doing it. And then Kayla, you submitted to be a Peloton
You saw
course
that?
person. Of course I did. I see a lot. So I'm just waiting for you to say it and you're not saying
Everyone's been
it.
asking me too. Everyone's like, did you
Kayla,
hear back? Did you hear back?
as per our private
No, I have
email.
not heard back.
So what was that like to submit for that?
It was scary.
It's only
I'm like,
scary when they say yes.
I feel like I'm a very like new to cycling because I've always been a runner, but I just love the community aspect of it, and I love inspiring other people with fitness. I really just, yeah, I just can relate to loving fitness and how, especially through like my injury, the biggest thing for me was I didn't realize how much running helped my anxiety and my mental health. So then when I didn't have running, I was like, I have to find something else. So I did get into meditation, but then I found cycling. So that's kind of how it got me on this path. And I'm like, I really just want to I want to inspire other people. Like when I get on that Peloton, I just feel so like inspired. Like I do it almost every morning before I go to work. And I just feel so energized. I feel so good. And people are always commenting on that. They just notice that, right? That when you're like joyful and so happy and all of that, they're, yeah, people just notice and like, yeah, like it helps when you like do something that just inspires you and feels really good. And you're also doing something good for your body and health.
So with your stress injury, that's not affected by cycling.
It's not, no, because actually where my stress fracture is it's my sesamoid bone in my great toe, my big toe. And really that it's a little tiny bone. You also have sesamoids, I guess, in your knee, but they're really like the pulley system connected to the tendon. And so that is where you basically push off every time you walk. So I've even had trouble walking without pain. It's been over 6 months at this point, and I'm still really struggling to sometimes just get out and go for a walk, which I used to run marathons and was actually training for an ultra before I got my stress fracture. So to be able to go from almost training for a 50K then to like not even be able to walk without pain has been very hard. But I found cycling was just a lot easier because I'm not putting that pressure and the weight on that bone. So it seems to be much better, and I can still feel like I'm getting a workout in.
Right.
Which is nice.
The only bone I ever broke was my big toe. My right toe.
Oh no.
Can they fix that? Can you,
It's the
because it's
worst.
been a long time you've been
They just
dealing with
kind of
this.
in the 80s, they just kind of wrapped it up. I was at camp too, so they're like, okay, go. Walk it
Wow.
off.
But Kayla, can they
Yeah.
do anything to
Yeah,
like?
I've been told that if it doesn't heal, like if we can't get it to heal on its own without just offloading it and not running, you could have surgery. But I've heard that there seems to be more risk to do the surgery, because that doesn't necessarily mean that I could run again. And so my fear is if I don't get it better and have the surgery, will I never be able to run again? And that would be, yeah, very hard for me because running is so tied to my identity because I've done it for so
What-
long.
Do your doctors think that it's kind of where it should be at this point, or like is it hard to
Yeah.
say?
Yeah, it's really hard to say. I've really bounced around from doctors to get different opinions. It's been really hard to find anyone that really understands sestamoditis, which is my diagnosis, to really understand it. I've been to orthopedics, I've been to a podiatrist, I've been to a chiropractor, I've been to a PT. Right now, I'm working with a physical therapist. That seems to be helping the most. Nobody else really did much for me or could give me much advice. And so I've been really just figuring it out on my own and learning about the diagnosis and how I've kind of came across in my research of other athletes, having the same diagnosis and seeing them back to running. It
Yeah,
makes me hopeful.
inspiring.
Kayla, is your PT an athlete by any chance? Are they an endurance
That's a good
athlete?
question. I don't know if he is an endurance athlete. I know he works with a lot
Yeah,
of endurance
the reason I ask, I think any of us in endurance sports have seen our fair share of therapists for different reasons. I know I've worked with PT several times, and I've had the best experience from when my PT was also an endurance athlete because he understood. I felt like he understood my injury the best, and could relate to what it would take to get me recovered. I tore my rotator cuff and had major surgery and spent like a year recovering with that. And my PT he was a huge help after had previously seen another one, but really the one that was the endurance athlete who understood how to help me recover was amazing. So just I don't know if you're looking for somebody else, but just just a tip.
That is it is helpful. I found that too, like just the medical team and providers that I've been to, like, when I went to my podiatrist, it was kind of hard because I felt like it wasn't helping me much because I don't think he, understood like I'm an athlete or
Right, just don't run.
Right.
That's what they say. Just don't run.
They're like,
Right,
just don't run. And that's what my orthopedic told me. Just don't run, do strength training, cycling and swimming. And I'm like, what? Like I ran every day I've ran almost every day of my life for the last 10 years.
Yeah.
What do you mean don't run?
It's like if you were a painter and I don't know, you lost use of your hand and you didn't have that form of self-expression anymore. And then people advise you, well, why don't you be a writer or play the flute or that, you know what I mean? Like that's gotta be really sad and, feel like a hole in your heart, and that's, running is bringing you so much mental health and physical well-being,
Right.
But I'm glad you found something that you enjoy with cycling. That's really important.
Yes, it's been fun. Yeah, it really did inspire me to do a triathlon because I do have a lot of clients that have reached out wanting, because they're plant-based and wanting help with their nutrition, with fueling for triathlons. And I'm like, you know what, maybe it's time to try that because then I can also better help my clients understanding the differences of fueling for a triathlon. I feel like is so even different than a marathon because you're going from one sport to another. It's certainly different. And then when you're doing brick workouts, as far as I understand, right, you're doing cycling and then then,
Yeah, most of us call the nutrition piece
running.
the fourth discipline of triathlon because it is. It's such an entirely different piece there,
Yeah.
getting you
Right.
through
Like
those.
people talk about
Yeah.
micronutrients and macronutrients. I'm like, okay, now I'm just so out. I just want to eat good food. But like when you're getting
Yeah.
into like so many of like when you're in a really competitive zone of wanting to improve, sometimes it really comes down to these little rejiggerings of things,
Yeah.
you know
Yeah.
uh I remember I can't even really tell the story well, but somebody was speaking about a, a competitive swimmer in college who was trying to make the Olympic swimming team or something. I don't know. But anyway, the person analyzed that one of her arms was just slightly stronger than the other one. So in order for her to get down to like 0.03 seconds faster or something, she needed to be stronger. She needed to like not only be stronger on the other arm, but like when she turn a certain way, like it just gets
Yeah, the
down to
turnover
such
had to rate had to be that much quicker. Yeah.
it's so interesting. Yeah.
Whether
Mhm.
you
That's
go into
something I'll
that,
ever have to worry about.
you go into that professional athlete or like Olympic athlete level, and that's their lives. I mean, to
Mhm.
want to do that. I mean,
Yeah, even
going
for things I've read, for them, even like shaving. I know they talk about Phelps, making
Yeah.
sure he's like fully shaved just to cut a few milliseconds off of
yep,
their time. It's
for the drag when you're
Right.
swimming.
right.
So interesting.
As someone who's a swimmer who swam competitively in high school and swam long distances, it makes a difference. You want as little drag as possible, unless you're training. Then you want a lot of drag, so that
Oh,
you can strengthen.
yeah.
So you intentionally will put the things on your hands or flippers on your feet or stuff on your body so
Right.
that you'll push through the water. Interesting tidbit about water in a pool. It's going to sound strange, but there's fast water and slow water, depending on like what the chemical makeup of that pool is.
Oh,
As many
I've heard
times you
of
get
hard water and soft water, but
it, when you get into the pool and it's just, I don't know what it is, but sometimes you feel like you're like swimming through sludge, and it's really hard to like just get your arms through. And then as you're training for a trial, you probably have felt this. And then there's sometimes you get in the water and you just kind of stream right through it. That's not you are like, wow, I got all this energy today. The water is something's off chemically with the water to make it so that it's
I know
just a
the
slower
temperature for
water.
me definitely makes a difference to the temperature of the water. And I was training and I go to the Y, depending on if you're swimming in the lap pool here versus there. They have the fitness pool, which is like for the folks who are wanting to do like water aerobics. And when I tell you that pool feels like a bathtub, and trying to swim laps in that pool, you feel like you're near death because
Yeah.
it's
like
so
take a
hot.
cold shower.
It's too hot, right?
Yeah, versus the lap
You don't
pool,
want to
which is
swim,
super
even
cool.
even though it's cold to get into. It's like perfect for
Right.
swimming because you are
Yeah.
sweating.
Yeah.
Warm up.
You
Mhm.
just don't realize that you're sweating because you're
Right.
wet.
Yeah.
And that's like harping back on for anybody for exercise is to do what you love when you find those
Yes.
things that you love to do instead of the I guess I'm gonna get on the bike today.
Right.
Ugh, I like I hate it, but I need to do it because you don't want to, you won't do it. You'll find any excuse not to. And when you finally get that, I went on vacation, you come back, you go, well, I've been away for a month, so maybe I just won't do it. But the things that you enjoy doing, you keep doing. And I know because Stephen and I have like done a few things where we just look at each other and go, I don't like this. I just don't like this.
Mhm.
I don't. So
You're
I
allowed.
right, but you like this is really good for you to do this. Put in whatever that this is. And like I don't like weight training. It
Mhm.
just Katya wants me to weight train, and I would love to have Katya train me like to do all this. I just don't like it. I like yoga. I like aerobics. I like swimming. I like my treadmill.
Mhm.
And there's enough
That's
diversity
good. That's
there.
the secret to continuing to exercise, you know?
Right. I love water aerobics.
Yeah.
It's a
Yeah.
great workout because
It's
you
fun.
control that workout.
What I
you
love
know?
about water aerobics is like me and 90-year-old people.
Yes.
So I feel really
That is true. The average age is a lot higher.
awesome. I love it.
Until we are those people. That will happen eventually.
It's true.
Yeah, that's the best. That's the absolute best. You know,
I love
getting-
water aerobics too.
Yep.
I just love anything in water. It's really relaxing and enjoyable.
Yeah. And something I would add too is sometimes when we start something new, it can be really uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And I like to bring that up because sometimes people will say that, like, you know, I hate running. Like, you know, like Marla was like, I hate running. But what I have found is like sometimes like it's like anything new we start, right? It's uncomfortable. But then sometimes if we keep doing it, we start to like it. And I actually can relate to that with running is my mom actually got me into running. And when I was about 13 years old, and I hated it. I absolutely hated it because I was out of breath. It just was uncomfortable. I was hot and sweaty. And I just was like, I don't know how this is fun. And then, you know, when I start doing these races and then the whole community aspect, like I just was like, wow. And then how much I realized was helping my stress and anxiety, right? All these things I was realizing was helping me with. And then even just like, you know, as a young girl, like you think about you worry about your weight. And so then it was like, oh, like I can better manage my weight, right? And all of these things. But I think that's like, it's just good to bring up is sometimes things that are new can be uncomfortable, but that doesn't mean necessarily to throw it away. Like, oh, I don't like that. Like when you keep doing it, sometimes you will start to enjoy it, but that's also not to say if you really, really don't like it, you give it a good shot. It's okay to quit and try something else and find something you might enjoy more.
Right.
But sometimes you got to get over that little uncomfortable state sometimes.
The learning curve and the discomfort. And sometimes it's hard to discern what is my ego feeling insulted by this and what is just I'm not grooving with this.
Right.
It's building the stamina,
exactly.
the muscles to you know feel like you can actually do it, and going through the pain of the muscles being stretched and used in different muscles, and you have to actually, it hurts to work out when it's new.
The next day too.
Oh, when it's new, then you're sore.
Right. And you can't be like, I'm sore, so I'm going to start this back up in a week. It's like you're sore, but you keep going, but you maybe work out something else, or I mean, most important, we got two medical people on this program, is don't ever do something that actually causes pain.
Right.
Like there's sore and then there's pain.
Yeah.
Right. And I'm sure that Kayla, when you hurt your toe, I'm sure that you actually went through pain and kept running because you weren't willing to give up and thinking, I'll just push through this, which probably made things a little worse. But you didn't know at that moment in time.
Right.
We push through pain sometimes when we're just being dumb is really what it is. Because we know better, but we want to finish. And if you're an athlete or a leader or anything, you just want to get it done. And we do stupid things like that. But
but you know, like you said, the important, you definitely should listen to your body. And even if you're starting a certain workout, that doesn't mean you have to do that particular workout every day. You can do something different. You know, some days all I feel like doing is just going out for a walk and soaking in the sun, like nothing, you know, super strenuous. But then before I know it, I've walked 5 miles just because I enjoyed being out walking in the sun.
Right.
So, you know, just really listening to your body and what it may need on that particular day.
Yeah.
I think that's the most important thing. I got diagnosed with a bunionette this past.
Sounds so cute.
It's adorable. If you look at my left foot, it kind of looks kind of mutated. I said, Stephen, look at my foot. And and I turned it the way you need to look at it. He went, ah!
That's not what you want to hear.
I was like, that's mean. That's like really mean. So I went to the doctor, and the doctor said, I said, it hurts when I walk without sneakers on or shoes on. He said, then don't. That was what the doctor said. Nothing they can do. And it does. I am okay with shoes on. My friend, I don't wear any shoes now except for my Brooks. That's it. I've been to multiple affairs now in dresses. I wore my sneakers. I was like, fuck this. I don't care. I'm not putting on heels ever again.
That's where I am. I can't wear heels anymore.
Yeah,
It's too painful.
I literally see people wearing them in movies, and I just cringe. It's like it's so uncomfortable looking.
Even comfortable ones, I'm done.
Oh.
I'm like, and Steve is very, very kind. He like wears his kicks like with his suit, so I like he knows that we're both his sneakers. It's very sweet. And
Wasn't that the wardrobe of the power power woman in the 80s is to dress up and wear sneakers?
But that was to walk through Manhattan to get to your job, where you took off your sneakers and put on your heels.
I guess.
Right. But that's not going to happen. Yeah, the stupid bunionette thing, it does. I'm so thankful that it, I walk a lot. I produce festivals.
Right.
I walk a half marathon some days at the festivals.
Yeah.
Wow.
And
For sure.
I don't have pain with my sneakers on. And I hope it stays that way, because that would really suck. Because there's nothing, what are you supposed to do? I mean, maybe it's got, and my feet have gotten, it's so strange. You age, Kayla, don't age. My feet have gotten bigger. I had a pair of sandals pre-COVID that I wore to the gym. I took them to the gym when we went back like a month ago. I can't fit into the sandals.
It's
like it's like they're made for little children. And my humongous feet don't fit in my sandals that I've worn for years. I don't know.
I've heard that though, your feet can grow, but like I wonder if some of it's like the arch.
I know I couldn't fit my foot into the sandal. I was so annoyed. I actually wore them out to. I wore them out to the gym part to show Steven. I was so uncomfortable. I was like, what is going on? How does this happen?
Colleen's not about keeping up the mystery in her marriage. The bunionettes and the
I'm so glad he's watching. So I don't know. So basically, you do what you can based on where you're at, and when things change, you don't stop. You just you pivot, just like all of us pivoted because of COVID. You pivot in life whenever something comes at you and forces you to have to change your path, and that's called resilience. And that's why people who are athletes are resilient.
That's a good point.
Yeah. Awesome. Anyone have anything else to say? Because I'm going to go to sleep.
Yeah, I know. I need to eat dinner.
All right, cool. Well, all right. Well, thank you. Well, thanks, Sovereign, for sleeping through the show.
I wasn't sleeping. I was here.
Okay.
I'm dealing with a personal matter, but I didn't want to not be here. So there's something that's not good here, but at my home right now that I'm dealing with. But I decided to stay on, so I wasn't sleeping.
Thank you for being here.
Okay. Well, I was just joking. I'm glad you're here, and I hope everything's okay. All right. So, and then thank you, Evan. Amen. That's awesome. All right. So, thank you, Sovereign, and then thank you, Kayla, and thank you. Who was there? Marla, and thank you, Dr. Shayla, and thank you once again for joining us for the Vegan Stew. We're not on Facebook. We're only on YouTube, and I'll just post this to social media to be like, hey, watch our show. And hopefully next week Facebook will not glitch and we'll be on it. Like I said, go to virtualvettrustlive.com, enter our contest, win one of 12 prize packs this month. And if you go to YouTube, subscribe and hit the